keys are to the glory days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time, and we got a special guest today.
We do?
Yes, we do.
Oh my gosh, who is it?
It's your boy.
It's our boy?
It's our boy.
Jay in the Bay?
Jay in the Bay.
Oh my goodness gracious. Jay, what's going on, guy?
Faithful Niners Empire. 49ers Cutback. What's good? You know who
What's
it
good,
is.
Jay?
It's
Glad to have you
your
on,
boy,
man.
Jay in the Bay. Thanks for having me
Yes.
on, man. Appreciate
Yeah, I
it.
like that.
Hey, this is exciting. This
It
is
is.
really exciting. We've been wanting to bring him on for some time now. We got
Yep.
it in the works a little while back and just got caught up with stuff, but we got our boy on here now. It's great, too, and it's perfect timing because some breaking news today with Julio Jones most likely going to the Tennessee Titans, barring anything crazy happening. Jay, man, how are you feeling about that?
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm finally glad that the Julio Jones saga is over. Obviously, I think the 49ers definitely need to get an upgrade at the wide receiver position. We need a veteran playmaker, and unfortunately that won't be Julio Jones, but at least he didn't get traded to one of our opponents in the NFC West. That's what I'm thinking on the bright side, because the NFC West is already loaded with receivers, and I think this is definitely great. It's good to see the Tennessee Titans get better, but I think the Niners are better off with this now that at least we don't have to face Julio in the NFC West.
Yeah, that was a scary thought of thinking about him with DK and Tyler Lockett and Russ up there cooking, or even, anywhere else with the Rams. Or I know Hopkins was saying, I'll take less money if you bring him over that. That's just scary to me. So I am very happy to see him go to Tennessee. I agree with you.
No, I'm 100% with you there on that. If Julio is going to be on a team that the 49ers have to play only once this year and probably won't have to see until it's like playoffs or Super Bowl time, I will take that any day of the week over anybody else other than San Francisco.
100% too.
Exactly.
If you have to play against Tannehill, right? It's like, okay, it's Tannehill.
It's Tannehill.
Yeah.
And Tannehill's throwing the balls. That's not as big of a deal. But Jay, you brought up a great point. You talked about additions for the 49ers wide receiver room. How are you feeling specifically about this wide receiver room? And if they do need to make additions, what are you hoping to see them do?
Well, at the end of last season, there were a lot of question marks going into the offseason for the 49ers. Obviously, secondary was an issue, just with the lack of guys under contract. The wide receiver room definitely was an issue. The offensive line needed to get re-solidified. And John Lynch did a lot of that in the offseason. But, wide receiver, I wish we would have gotten a wide receiver in the draft, in the first 2 or 3 rounds. But it's clear that Lynch wanted to, solidify the offensive line and get a running back. I like, Brandon Ayuk, the Ayuk show. I like Deebo Samuel. I like Richie James. He's solid. But, past those 3 receivers, and of course the best tight end in the NFL, George Kittle, but past those 3 receivers, Jennings has been hurt. Hurd has been hurt. What is left of Travis Benjamin, Mohamed Sanu? We got Austin Watkins, I believe, the undrafted free agent, but he was undrafted. There's a reason why teams didn't draft him. So, besides if Ayuk, Deebo, and Kittle stay healthy the whole year, oh yeah, we'll be great. But I mean, that's kind of wishful thinking, that they're all going to be healthy. So, besides those 3 players, I think we definitely could use an upgrade.
No, I mean, I agree with you there completely. I wouldn't say it's not a pipe dream for all 3 of them to stay healthy, but it hasn't happened yet, right? So you can't put all your eggs in those baskets. And George Kittle is just the way he plays. He's going to miss a game. At least one, right? Mm-hmm. So upgrades at the wide receiver position. I know Ant's banking on Hurd staying healthy, and I think if he does stay healthy, I think there's less questions with the wide receiver room. But no, I agree with you there. I think we all kind of were surprised that they went running back. I think we all were expecting a wide receiver at some point. And the fact that they went after 2 running backs instead of a wideout maybe makes you think that they were hoping maybe to go get a Julio Jones or go after someone and target someone. Or maybe Shanahan's comfortable with Mohamed Sanu. Maybe he's showing something for him and he feels like he's ready to do something, right? Like last year they brought him in for like a game and then he ended up in Detroit and he looked better once he got to Detroit. But it's just one of those things where I think we're all a little surprised by it. But then again, Ant, this may go to your point, right? The Jalen Hurd effect is coming to San Francisco, and they're banking on this dude being healthy, and that's why they haven't made a move, is they feel like they have that number 3 guy already.
I think they feel they have a lot of options at number 3 that they're happy with, that they can feel good about. Jalen Hurd, especially being the guy that could push him over the top. He's ridiculously good and talented, and the way that they can use him is unmatched. He takes the whole Debo thing to another level because he's a legit running back.
That's true.
And a 6'5", 230-pound frame, that's ridiculous. That is Julio Jones' size. And you've got that guy that can do the running back thing. So I don't think the 49ers ultimately are too worried about their receiver room. I think we are from the outside because we're like, wait, him, Travis Benjamin, and Hurd. But once again, you know how excited I am about Travis Benjamin.
You are.
He's somebody that I really like. And I think Mohamed Sanu has showed out. And I think Jawan Jennings came back in shape from everything that we've heard from OTAs. And he's looked good. As long as he's catching the ball, because that was the big complaint in training camp. He wasn't catching the ball. If he's doing that, that guy's big, physical, Kendrick Bourne style player, because he can do all the possession things, but with a lot more physicality. 6'3", he's 220 pounds. I mean,
he's a big dude.
He's a freak of nature, and these guys I think are going to be okay. Plus, they got Sherfield and some of these other guys in the room that are going to play well. So, yes, I would have loved for them to bring someone else in, but I think as long as everyone stays healthy, and that's the key, that's the scary part, is as long as everyone stays healthy, they'll be good.
Now, is there anyone specific? Is there a wide receiver out there you think they could target, Jay, or that you'd want them to target? Personally,
I looked at the best free agents that are available, and there's not much left. Unfortunately, at this stage of the league year, if you aren't on a team, it's usually because you're rehabbing an injury, or you just can't make a 53-man roster at this point. I looked at the receivers. I saw Golden Tate, but then when I looked at what he did the last 2 years, he hasn't been able to stay healthy. So that's definitely not a player we want to bring on. I saw D.D. Westbrook. He played pretty well with the Jacksonville Jaguars, but he suffered a torn ACL last year. So that's another issue. There was one more receiver. I was thinking about maybe trading for Odell Beckham Jr., but he tore his ACL last year. So it's like, at this point, you guys make a lot of sense. Maybe best just to stick with Jennings, Hurd, Watkins, and see if one of those 3 or a combination of those 3 can replicate what Kendrick Bourne brought to the team last year. That might be the best bet.
Yeah, I think so. I think the one thing that goes with Benjamin and with Hurd compared to Kendrick Bourne is, like you've talked about before, Alex, you have to actually pay attention to him when he goes in motion.
Yeah.
Because if you watch film, Jay, from last year, when Kendrick Bourne goes in motion, those defensive players don't even recognize it. They don't even care. They're just like, oh, there he goes. Who cares?
There goes Kendrick. He's ghosting over there.
Yeah,
he's not.
They don't respect him going in motion at all. And so that is an added aspect to Kyle Shanahan's offense that'll be nice, because you can just get eyes going a different direction.
Yeah,
it's true. That's true. Look, man, you had just talked about some free agents. Are there any other free agents out there, maybe not at the wide receiver position, that you think
anywhere,
any position really, that the 49ers could still or should still target?
That's a great question, and I've been on the Justin Houston train, the edge rusher from the Indianapolis Colts. He had 2 great years with the Colts. He played every game. I believe he had about 16 to 18 sacks those 2 seasons with the Colts. Maybe he's asking for too much, but I don't know why the Niners at least don't bring him in for a workout. Because at this point, D Ford, what is he really going to bring us? I don't think not much. Bosa, he's coming back from the torn ACL, but best case scenario for Bosa, in my opinion, is he doesn't play 100% of snaps from the start of the season. We slowly, ramp Bosa up, maybe play, 30% of snaps week 1, 40%, 50%, like continue going up. So we really only have Arden Key. He was a bust with the Raiders. And then we got Samson Bukum, the guy from the LA Rams. I like that we scooped him up from the LA Rams, but we'll see what he can do, as an edge rusher. But, and of course, another free agent, Zach Ertz. If we're not going to upgrade the wide receiver, get another tight end to pair up with Kittle. Because like we know, Kittle likes to play 100%, all day, no matter what, blocking, receiving, just like Debo. So if you know that, you got to have adequate depth. So
Got to have a backup plan.
Yeah, and there definitely need to address. I think a lot of people see maybe there's a weakness at edge pass rusher, like you said, especially. So he would definitely make sense to bring in Justin Houston. I mean, to me, he makes a lot of sense. It's got to be money. That's the same with Ingram. It's got to be money.
It has to be.
So at some point, the money is going to come down. When is that going to be? Is that going to be training camp? You know, it's kind of when Jadeveon Clowney signed last year. So I think it's just waiting for that. But maybe at some point he decides, you know what, I just need to win a championship, and then he'll jump onto one of these teams. But yeah, I would love that because he is a massive upgrade over the depth portion of the 49ers roster. Now that they're not in the Julio sweepstakes, maybe the money, now we'll get more figured out. You know, everything can come to fruition as far as who they're going to sign. They might also look at other tight ends, like you brought up Ertz. They might bring up, you know, Delaney Walker again, maybe as a possibility if they're not using that money. Of course, they need to take care of Fred Warner in the middle, but all that stuff is going to happen, especially because they can push a lot of that money to 2023 when the salary cap is going to blow up.
Again,
So 2022, we know it's going up. You probably got Jimmy Garoppolo coming off the books. There's going to be money to spend. So it is going to be interesting over the next month or so to see what they do going into training camp to build and finish this roster. I think he brought up some really good players.
Yeah, there's some really good names there, right?
Yeah.
And I think to pair what he said with what you just said, now that the Julio sweepstakes is done, Justin Houston might legitimately be a possibility because that may have been the only hiccup, right? Was if we're going to go after Julio and be serious about this, we can't go target anyone else right now because we don't know, once we get him in, we don't know what that restructured contract looks like and how much money we're going to actually have available to go after some of these guys. Now that Julio is going to be in Tennessee, most likely, this frees up a lot of possibilities. Houston's a possibility, right? They can go after a guy like Zach Ertz. You can target some of these guys that have maybe big contracts right now or wanting big money and figure out how to stretch it out down the line, restructure, work things around. Because, you know, like you said, there's cap available now. It's not tied up with the Julio possibility and potentiality anymore. It's free. It's out there in space. And as you just brought up, Ant, too, with the Jimmy Garoppolo stuff coming off the books next year, if you know you're moving on from Jimmy Garoppolo after the season, then you know exactly what you have available down the road coming into next year. You have upwards of $50 million available next year. You can push as much of that as you want into 2022 as well as 2023, because as you get further away from Jimmy's contract, as you start getting closer to the end of D Ford's contract, you have a lot of money coming up that the 49ers are going to be able to spend.
And without any restructurings, they're going to have close to $9 million after signing their rookies.
That's true.
So they'll have that. They want to keep probably $4 to $5 million in case they need to make a midseason trade or something of that nature. So you want to keep that. So they have $4 to $5 million to play with as far as signing someone. That's without doing any restructuring and pushing any of this money down the line. You know, they could always re-sign Laken Tomlinson or restructure Jimmy Ward and free up the cap space if needed. But I think that is a last thing that they want to do. But if they think a player is going to get them over the top, they'll do it. The fact there's so many good edge rushers still sitting out there just boggles me.
That's correct. That's true, man. Because Melvin Ingram out there as well. That's also a possibility as well. I mean, who knows? There's so many options, right? The Niners can do so much right now. It's kind of crazy. It's almost too much to wrap our heads around.
Right.
Last thing the main thing we want to talk to you about, because we had seen you were kind of jumped all over this as soon as the stuff started coming out with Richard Sherman talking about, there's a possibility for the door opening up with San Francisco. So we wanted to ask you and talk to you about this. Do the 49ers need to do this? Do they need to just pull the trigger and bring back Richard Sherman?
Unfortunately, no. There's no doubt Richard Sherman, Hall of Fame player, one of the best cornerbacks to ever do it, within the last decade. I put him and Darrelle Revis up there with each other, but Sherman, he's battled injuries the past few years. He's had the Achilles injury. He's had the calf injury last year. He just hasn't been available. And there's no doubt Richard Sherman, what he brings to a team, his leadership, his toughness. He's one of the best tackling cornerbacks I've ever seen. But unfortunately, he can't cover man to man anymore. He cannot, cover receivers. Past 10 yards. He's great in zone, right? Because he can just read the quarterback and, come up to hit the running back if necessary or, play his little zone, but he can't run with the best receivers anymore. I was thinking maybe at safety, maybe put him in at safety, but we already have, a lot of depth in the safety department. So another reason why not to bring back Sherman is because I want to see what the two rookies we drafted in this year's draft, the corners, I want to see what they can do. And I think they should get some playing time this year because a lot of our corners, are on 1-year deals. Mosley, Verrett, Mosley's on a 2-year deal, but Verrett is on a 1-year deal, and K'Wan Williams are on a 1-year deal. So these 2 rookie corners, they could possibly be our starters next year. So I think they should definitely get playing time over paying Richard Sherman, and he limits your defense at this point of his career.
I think everyone in this room agrees with you. Yeah. Everyone in this room literally agrees with that take right there. He does limit the defense. He pigeonholes you in terms of what kind of coverages you can run, when you can run them. And the big thing is the flexibility, right? Like you just talked about, getting those young guys on the field. It's a lot harder to get those young guys on the field if Richard Sherman's in your locker room. Although there's the caveat there, right? Richard Sherman's wisdom being imparted on those young guys may have maybe not as big an impact, but it's going to have a big impact in terms of their preparation. But if that's the case, right, is Richard Sherman ready to accept the mentor role and not the being on the field role? And our compatriot there on the other side does not think so at all. No. And if he's not ready to do that, then he's not a good fit in San Francisco.
Richard Sherman thinks he's still Richard Sherman.
That's true.
And as long as he thinks he's still Richard Sherman, he's going to want to start. He's not going to want to come in and play a limited role. He's going to want to be out there every single snap. And he should. I mean, that's how he should think. That's how he should believe. And he's a good player. And in the right system, he can still play. But Jay's right. He can't cover these primetime receivers down the field anymore. They can take advantage of him. This isn't 2019 where I'm never going to throw his way, Richard Sherman. This is, where's Richard Sherman? We can beat him over the top. He's been exposed. And it's like one of those things where once you find out Superman has a kryptonite, you can keep exposing it. And that's what he has now. He just lost that speed. He's lost a step. So, yes, Richard Sherman would be a feel-good story for the 49ers, but feel-good stories don't win you championships.
Very true.
Plus, I think a lot of people are sleeping on the fact Jason Verrett is a veteran that knows the ins and outs of football. He's very cerebral as well. He can do the mentoring role while dominating at the corner position. You have the guy now. It's E-Man's time to step up. E-Man can prove in this next couple of years that he deserves a big contract, or he's going to get passed by Ambry Thomas or Deommodore Lenoir. That's what's going to happen. Those guys are going to come in. They will have the money next year if they want to sign Verrett and K1. But I think they've insulated themselves with Ambry Thomas and Deommodore Lenoir. Those guys could literally be starting corner, like Jay said, corner and nickel next year, and you can move on to the next phase. Another name to keep an eye on in that secondary is Tim Harris Jr. He's been injured a lot, but he had a lot of talent. He was one of those guys that was a second and third round talent, but he was injured, so he was never healthy. He's continued that in the NFL. Maybe this is his year. The only problem with him, he is in a Richard Sherman mold where he's big and he plays more of the cover 3. So how he translates is going to be interesting, but he's big and physical. And I always like big and physical.
Yeah, he's a big fan of the big and physical. I don't know if you ever watched, did you ever watch our Giants preview show where he was Dave Gettleman?
No.
No, I didn't see that one. No.
Oh, dude, it's great. He plays the part of Dave Gettleman trying to get all the big people to come to the New York Giants because they're the big people. It was great. So and is a big fan of the big people. Listen, I want to ask you one more thing, and this was just kind of like off the top. What are you most excited about coming into this season, this 2021 season? What are you most excited about for the 49ers? Is there anything that sticks out as something that you're excited to see, what the potential of this team is, a certain player, anything like that?
I believe that our infusion of young talent, with the draft, we had a lot of picks in the draft and we got a lot of players, we got the 2 big offensive linemen. Of course, we got Trey Area, the future franchise quarterback. I was surprised, like you guys were, that we got 2 running backs in the draft, or at least we got Trey Sermon that high. Also glad about the younger, the corners, the safety who we got in the draft. So I like to see the young talent. I'm definitely excited for the preseason this year. I don't think I've ever been excited for preseason because Trey Lance will definitely get a lot of snaps in the preseason. And I'm hoping that we can be healthy this year. I'm looking to see Jimmy G revive his career because let's face it, if Jimmy G gets hurt again for a significant amount of time, or he plays bad, he could, there's a possibility he won't be a starter in this league anymore. So a lot is riding on this season for Jimmy G. If Jimmy G balls out, he stays healthy, we go to the playoffs with Jimmy G. We'll, trade him in the offseason, and Jimmy G, I'm sure, will sign a long-term extension with a different team and be a starter for years to come. But a lot is riding on this season, especially for Jimmy G. And let's face it, Shanahan, he's only had 1 winning season, I had to throw that out there as well. So, there's a lot to be excited about.
Here's a good question for you. If we have a bad year this year, and let's say injuries don't play a part in it, do you think he's on the hot seat?
Shanahan, no. I wouldn't say he's on the hot seat, but there's no doubt when you look at his record, he's only had one winning season. Because I believe him and Lynch just signed extensions this offseason, or was that last offseason?
Last offseason.
Okay. So they're that ink is still wet. They're not on the hot seat at all. Exactly. No way. And Lynch, he did an excellent job. He solidified a lot of areas on this team through the draft, through free agency. But, you can't always get what you want. Of course, I wanted the star, elite, prima donna wide receiver, but you can't always get that. And I feel like the team is pretty whole. Like if you look at our division, I think we stack up pretty well with every team. Like every team in our division is tough, but I feel like we probably have the best overall team, including coaching, management, and all that stuff. So very exciting year.
No, I agree with that there 100%. I don't think anyone's culture matches San Francisco's. Yeah. San Francisco's culture is what Lynch and Shanahan have been able to do in such a short amount of time is nothing short of incredible, because it's a complete culture shift in terms of how you prepare, how you view your team, how you build your team, and then just the level of participation. I mean, coming off of a Super Bowl loss to an injury-ridden 2020 season, you would expect 2021 for the Niners to come in and for them maybe to be some hesitation. Is this, are we going in the right direction? Nah. You have almost your entire 90-man roster showing up to OTAs. I think that's just a credit to what this direction of this team is and where they're at in terms of their mindset.
Yeah, and I agree with Jay. I'm very excited for preseason. I can't wait to see these guys on the field. And you know what? It's even the guys that were rookies last year or guys that didn't get a chance to prove it, like Juwan Jennings and those guys who didn't get a chance to do preseason, and now they're going to be out there. I want to see how these dudes ball out, because that's where we got our first glimpse of like Deebo Samuel, Jalen Hurd, that got us excited about some of these guys. And Brandon Ayuk and those guys just didn't get it, plus Aaron Banks. I mean, there's just so many fun guys to watch that it's going to be exciting to see who is going to make the roster. So we get to watch all the preseason, 3 games, and I like watching all the depth guys. That's one of the things I love the most about the preseason. I don't care about the starters during that time. They can just sit out. I want to see the depth guys get out there, battle it out, and see what happens.
Maintenance days.
Yeah, and we're going to get maintenance days during training camp. They're going to rest these players, and everyone's going to freak out. Oh, they're hurt again. It's going to be okay.
Patience, folks. Patience.
100%.
Jay, let them know where they can find you on YouTube.
Sure. You can find me on YouTube. Of course, Jay in the Bay on YouTube. I talk about everything. You guys see it. The red and gold, the faithful, the Niner Empire. You can also find me on IG and Twitter, Jay in the Bay 49er. And it's been a pleasure to be on the Niners Cutback YouTube. I saw you guys when, you were just starting out, just getting used to talking in front of a camera. And now you guys are almost at 1K. Like, it's amazing to see. So thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, man. The pleasure is all ours. Thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. We enjoy your work. We enjoy your channel. We go check out your live streams and everything. Make sure everyone goes and checks out Jay in the Bay. He has a lot of fun. His introductions are fantastic. I love the way he does.
I love it.
The introductions.
It's my favorite part.
It is.
It's my favorite part.
And so
I get hype every episode.
Make sure you guys jump over there, check him out, hit the sub button, hit that notification bell so you know exactly when he's going to do his stuff, because it's fun to watch. And there's no shortage of great 49ers content, and Jay's one of the ones that's up and coming and good.
As for sure. Jay, man, we really appreciate you coming on, man. Thank you so much. And all you 49ers fans out there, until next time, you stay safe.
And remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.